Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back. So it is time to talk about the nodal shift. The nodes are going to shift signs this year, this month, this week, on the 12th of January. And I think this is one of the most exciting transits of the year. And I might be a little biased here because I am a Pisces. So the nodes are shifting into Pisces and Virgo. So the North Node is going to move through Pisces. The South Node is going to move through Virgo. Now, I want to talk about what this means for us on a personal level and also on a collective level. And then we'll have a quick look at each house. So depending on where this falls in your chart, what does that mean? What are the themes here for you? We touched on that already in the forecast for all signs for the year of 2025, but we're going to go and look at it again and go a little deeper here. So every time the nodes are changing signs, we are noticing the shift in the collective. And we will also notice the shift in our personal lives because the nodes are now moving through a different area in our chart, which has a different meaning and focuses on different topics. Now, with the North Node pointing to where we are collectively and personally encouraged to grow and evolve, and the South Node highlighting the habit, skills, and tendencies that may feel familiar but could limit that growth, we're really encouraged to embrace the new. And by what I mean by that is we are encouraged to get out of our comfort zone. And again, this is mainly focusing on a specific area in your life. Specifically if it's the first house, it focuses on your life, period, like the way you set up your life, the way you look into life, of course. But also depending on then what sign, what energy is occupying this area, in this case, it would be obviously Pisces and Virgo, that gives it a different flavor. So if you have Aries in the first house, you'll flavor differently than if you have Pisces in the first house. Now, let's just look at a few general themes here of this Pisces-Virgo nodal axis. Now, the North Node in Pisces, which is the growth direction, we are having the emphasis on our creativity, on our intuition, compassion, spiritual pursuits, our spiritual understanding of life, and also surrendering to it, right? The surrender, instead of just like trying to force something, you want to surrender into it. Now, this North Node in Pisces also encourages the embracing of the flow, trusting universal guidance, because you are an extension of the universe. So there's literally if you spread out your arm, or that is just an example, but that's just what I see right now. Like you're spreading out your arm, it's like that extension. Is the extension. You are that arm of the universe, basically. And you really want to let go of this rigid control. And I also think there are collective lessons that revolve around developing empathy. And again, probably not only collective, also in your personal life. That will move into the focus. And there is this theme of unconditional love, and the world we live in, right? The 3D, unconditional love, especially when we look at it from a relationship perspective, only really exists between parents and children. And I think we're asked to stretch ourselves here a little bit again, that can we extend that unconditional love? And I believe we can love without having to be with the other person, right? We can unconditionally love someone without being with that person. That I believe unconditional love on the level of Pisces really has to, it isn't connected to necessarily the material or the values that a person holds or any of that. It's just really that heart understanding of, I love that person and I want the best for them and I want them to live their life in the way they want to live their life, because they are also an extension of the universe, right? So that understanding, growing that understanding, I think that's going to be a big part here. And the North Node here in Pisces also calls for us cultivating faith and a deeper connection to the divine within us. The divine, the I am, right? The I am, that is that divine part of us. Not necessarily the I am this, the I am that, but just the I am, understanding that I am, and understanding that that is the God within, or the universe within, or whatever you want to call it. And then, yes, also encouraging, or this nodal shift also encourages us to use our dreams, meditation, and also art, because art can also be meditation, right? A form of meditation, to inspire our personal and then also our collective healing. And now the South Node in Virgo, which is pointing to releasing and integrating. And I really want to emphasize the integrating here as well, because it's not just about letting go of everything Virgo stands for, right? That makes no sense. This is holistic. We're looking at this on a holistic level. So we want to integrate here as well. So the letting go and the releasing is usually, for me at least, the way I look at it, pointing to the lower frequencies of each sign. So what is the lower frequency of Virgo? Well, it's excessive criticism, it's perfectionism, and over analysis. And we really want to let go of the excess of this. Then the South Node in Virgo also highlights the tendency to get stuck in a certain routine, micromanagement, or worrying about the so-called quote-unquote small stuff. Really, you want to look at your routines this year or the next, just start now. Just start looking at your routines and which routines are helping you to grow and which one are just keeping you in a cycle, keeping you quote unquote safe. Now, while Virgo's attention to detail and practicality can be an asset, I think clinging on to these habits can prevent our growth. And I'm talking growth in general, spiritual growth, your growth in the way you want to move through life, right? Emotionally expanding, mentally expanding, right? You want to really make sure that your routines are furthering your growth. And I think also this axis, Virgo Pisces, it encourages it is encouraging us to balance the grounded skills of Virgo, the earth energy, with the ability to dream and imagine the possibilities. Now, the key areas of focus for the collective and for the individual, like on a general level, is, of course, first of all, healing, right? That is the healing axis. The axis of healing, and we can add service here as well, right? It's a shifting from practical, task-oriented service, which was Virgo, to a soulful, compassionate service that would be more Piscean, right? We're still serving, but there's a shift in the way we do it. And this may involve healing your emotional wounds, engaging in, I don't want to say humanitarian efforts, but more like, your relationships with people, the people in your life, and also connecting with others on a deeper or higher level. Like, not just like, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm good. Oh, okay. But like, let's go a little deeper. Let's take the next step. And then the next thing I would say is logic versus intuition, right? Again, Virgo, logic, Pisces, intuition. Moving away from a over-reliance on the logical mind, right? The logical thinking and analyzing, and then leaning more into the intuitive guidance, the emotional understanding of whatever we're talking about here, right? The thing, the person, the relationship. How can you relate to it less from this, like, this makes sense, this is logical, let's look at it, let's look at every part of it, to like, what do I intuitive sense here? Right? And we are talking about the sixth sense, because the five senses are really related to Virgo, and the sixth sense, that intuitive understanding, that is Pisces. So we really are encouraged to lean into that and grow that, cultivate that part of us. Next thing I want to touch on is control versus surrender. Again, the Virgo control versus the Pisces surrender. So the learning to let go of the need to control every detail in your life, your day to day, to like trusting the flow of life. And that does not mean, when we are talking about the flow, that doesn't mean to just like, well, let's see whatever happens, I'll get up at 11. I don't know. Maybe I'll stay in bed all day. That's not what we are talking about. We are really talking about the intuition, the intuitive knowing what's right for you. Because the lower frequency of Pisces, can get into like fooling yourself, right? You are lying to yourself, and you don't want to lie to yourself. You want to still be really connected to that part of you that wants to experience life. And you can do this in a rigid way, and you can do that in a controlling way, or you can do that in a surrendered kind of way, and in a way that is that feels free. And I know that often people with a lot of more earth energy have a harder time to really lean into that because of the density of the energy. I mean, I don't know if you listen to me as a Pisces right now, or even as a Scorpio, you might find it like, yeah, of course. You don't have to tell me that, that just, but again, we all have Piscean energy within us, so we all have that part. We just have to cultivate, and we are encouraged to cultivate that part on a deeper level now. Last thing I want to say when it comes to the key areas here is practicality versus imagination. So while Virgo encourages practicality, Pisces is asking us to embrace our imagination, our creativity, dreaming bigger without needing the answer right away. Because the answer is already there, because everything is already there in consciousness. You just have to bring it forth, manifest it into the physical. But everything already exists in consciousness. And Pisces is so good at understanding that. The Pisces energy within us is so good at understanding that. Now, let's look at what this means for your rising sign. Let's start with Aries rising, as we always do. Now, if you are an Aries rising, your focus is going to be spirituality, rest, and connection to the unseen. Now, the North Node in Pisces lights up your 12th house and is inviting you to explore solitude, healing, and spirituality. And no, I'm not saying you should just hide for the next 18 months somewhere in the mountains. But I think what I'm saying here is take more time to yourself, and also take more time for your spiritual practice, whatever your spiritual practice is. It could be meditation, it could be yoga, it could be art, it could be music. You know what that means for you. And if you don't know, then try it out. Try meditation, try like an art project, and see how you resonate with that. And what you want to let go of is the need to control your day-to-day routines, or micromanaging your health or your health routine. Like, I'm not saying you should stop taking all your vitamins, but just where are you just too rigid about it. And like when we get too rigid, even with a health routine, right? Like having the green smoothie, having all the vitamins, and not eating before 10 o'clock, you're stressing yourself with that as well. Because when it becomes too rigid, the body needs to flow. Everything needs to flow within the body, right? Like your blood flows through the body. If the blood becomes stagnant, it's not good for us. And so it's the same in life. If you're too rigid with a routine, it turns to the opposite, right? It is not healthy. You gotta allow yourself the free flow. So you experiment a little bit. What else do I want to say to you? I already said that, kind of like the growth path here is meditation, and emotional release, because it will help you cultivate the trust in the flow of life. And you really want to focus on that flow of life. And again, also in your routines. Opening up your routines a little bit. Let life in, fresh wind. Just cleaning those routines up a little bit. Now for Taurus rising, we are focusing on friendships, community, and your dreams for the future. With the North Node in Pisces in your 11th house, you're being called to connect with like-minded souls and embrace a greater vision for life. And yes, also humanity, because yes, the 11th house is humanity, but I really believe we are an extension of that, right? We are an extension of humanity. So if we are focusing on what is true for us, we are serving humanity as well. Now, the release that we want to cultivate here, or that we want to work on here, is the rigid thinking in your creative endeavors. And you're a very creative person, but you are creative in one way. You've done things in a certain way always. And, you've written music a certain way. And, it's all become a bit stale. So you want to bring some fresh wind in here. You want to just maybe also step it up a little bit in your creative endeavors. The other thing also, the obsession with the outcome, the idea of like it has to look a certain way. This is how it has to look at the end. I mean, that really is a disservice to the flow of art, the flow of creativity. Like the openness to like whatever outcome could there be, the possibility of the outcome, right? There's like the idea, starting to write a song and let's see where it takes you. Experimenting maybe with different instruments or whatever. I don't know what you're doing creatively. Obviously, if maybe you're not even musical, maybe you have another creative outlet. But whatever you are working on, just implement something new there and see where it takes you. So the growth path here is, maybe joining creative communities and collaborating on shared goals. Now, Gemini rising, for you, we're talking career, ambitions, and public image. The Pisces energy in your 10th house is asking you to follow your intuition when it comes to your career, when it comes to your purpose work, when it comes to what you do for a living, and align your career with your soul's purpose. Let go of that perfectionism in your life, not just in your career, but also in the home, right? Because I'm actually having a person in mind right now that I'm speaking to. Maybe that makes me a little rigid, right? Like I should not just speak to one person. But when I just said what I said, someone came to mind that actually has this it's a Gemini rising, basically. And they are very creative, very, very, very creative. It's an artist. And the last 5 years, basically, have been literally away from the art, and the focus was on the family and the children, and it has to be a certain way, and we have to do it this way and that way, and it cannot be any other way, and no, you can't go there, and the children have to be this and that. I think it's time now to stop micromanaging this area and bringing focus back to the art or whatever you do in your professional life. You really want to embrace the fluidity in your career now, and trusting your inner compass for guidance. Because also the perfectionism in the home might hinder you in your professional growth. Now, Cancer rising, for you, we are talking higher learning, travel, spiritual growth. So the North Node in the 9th house invites you to expand your horizon through spiritual studies or journeys. Maybe you want to go to Bali. I know this is like such a cliche, but that could be that could be an outlet here. And you want to release the overly analytical tendencies in the way you communicate. The growth path here is exploring philosophies, traveling, exploring other countries, exploring other cultures, being open to being inspired by places that are very different to what you know. And also maybe studying mystical teachings could be a part of this. Opening up the belief system, opening up, your beliefs to letting new beliefs in. Then Leo rising, for you, we're focusing on the 8th house, intimacy, transformation, and shared resources. Now, the North Node in the 8th house encourages your emotional and financial vulnerabilities. And that may not always be easy. You might be very challenged here emotionally. Could be through a partner, could also be through financial endeavors with others that, where you're doing something that you haven't done before and it's uncomfortable, and you're not really sure how to go about it. But again, the growth is here, right? Like you're encouraged to go and transmute whatever is in your way. And you want to release the need to meticulously manage your personal finances or your material standards, and prioritizing that over your emotional wealth, right? The emotional understanding of life, the emotional currencies. So the growth path here would be deepening your emotional connections and embracing the healing that comes with it. And again, I think that is, I wouldn't say this is the most challenging situation here, like of all the signs, but I think it can be quite challenging, specifically if you're very set in your ways when it comes to the values you hold. Because Virgo in the 2nd house is like the idea of the values you have kind of is set in stones, and you don't want to look at reevaluating it because it feels unsafe. But I think here you're asked to do that. Let the light in, let some fresh wind in, reevaluate your values. Virgo rising, for you, my lovelies, the focus is on relationships and partnerships. So we talk about one-on-one business relationships, partnerships, or, the relationship that we have in life with our husband, long-term partner. But this can also relate to long-term friendships that you have. Now, with the North Node in the 7th house, your focus shifts to surrender and compassion within relationships, and releasing the self-critical tendencies and the perfectionism in your approach to life in general, but yes, also to relationships. And then also the the ideas that you have when it comes to growing, how to grow, the how question. I have that a lot with people that have a lot of Virgo energy, but specifically Virgo risings that also, have a lot of earth energy. The how, it's like the how, but how? That you got to get rid of the how question. The how needs to leave your sight going forward. This is not a time to ask for the how. If the how is super important for you, the next 18 months are going to be very difficult. The how is like, it's specifically also in relationship. How are we going to make this work? No, that's not the question. The question is, what do you want? Being clear about what you want. And why do you want it? What does it give you? And you work from that place because you want to do everything based on inspired action, right? You want to take inspired action. In order to take inspired action, you have to have clarity and you have to allow yourself to be inspired. Being clear about what you want and trusting that it is already here in consciousness. You might not see it yet, but it exists already. Understanding that, again, I said this before, can sometimes be a little difficult for someone with a lot of earth energy. But again, you gotta allow it. That is your challenge going forward. Now, the growth path here, I kind of already mentioned it. It's nurturing spiritual and emotionally fulfilling relationships. Now, Libra rising, for you, we're talking health, day-to-day routines, and service to others. The North Node in the 6th house calls you to align your work and wellness practices with a greater compassion and creativity. So what can you do differently in your work? Well, you want to take a more creative or differently creative approach to your work, your day-to-day life, your day-to-day routine. And you also want to release the need for rigid control in the way you approach your connection to the divine. I think I mentioned this already. I don't know if you've listened to the forecast for all 12 signs, like for your sign. I did a forecast for every sign, so also for you, Libra rising. I mentioned that they are like, maybe you have a certain idea, maybe you're following certain spiritual leaders, spiritual teachers. And maybe it's time to find new teachers. Not saying you need to let go of the other ones completely, but incorporate some new ones because they can help you open up and see something you're not seeing yet. Because there's always something we're not seeing yet, always. And that will be true until the day we leave this planet. There's always something we are not seeing yet. So what is that for you? So your growth path is finding joy in the service you give to others, and integrating your spiritual practices into your daily life. And again, you might already do that, but maybe there's a different way. Now, Scorpio rising, for you, we are talking creativity, self-expression, and the joy of being alive. Pisces in the 5th house, with the North Node here, you're encouraged to explore intuitive forms of expression, but also your imagination is really going to be amped up. It's imagination on steroids, and you're asked to find new ways to express it. And the release here that you are encouraged to do is overcritical tendencies towards people, friendships, group dynamics, groups in general, certain, every time I'm talking about a rising sign, I have someone in mind that just comes to me. It's like, oh yeah, that person is Scorpio rising. I can see that. Now your growth path is really embracing your art, your creative pursuits, and maybe even allow them to become more than a hobby. Sagittarius rising. For you, we are talking home, family, and emotional foundations. And with the North Node in Pisces in your fourth house, you're called to cultivate emotional security and a spiritual connection within the home with the people that you live. But if you live on your own, maybe you want to make your home a sanctuary. And you want to let go of the perfectionism that you place on yourself when it comes to your career. So the growth path here is building a sanctuary, like I already said, that then supports emotional and spiritual nourishment, and also you in your career. So having a happy, healthy home can help you further your aspirations in your career. And I've already mentioned that, right? Like you want to let go of the perfectionism that it has to look a certain way, right? Does it have to look that certain way? Can it look another way? Could that even be better? Possibly. Open yourself up to other possibilities. Now, Capricorn rising, for you, we're talking communication, learning, and connection with your social circle. Like the Pisces energy in the third house inspires intuitive communication and also creative learning. And what you want to release here is the overly analytical tendencies in your long-term plans. Be more open to the possibilities that could arise in your future. And that could also mean that you might want to change your social circle. You might add new people into your new social. Maybe you even want to move. I mean, I can see that maybe the neighborhood you're in isn't really nourishing you anymore, and you want to move to a new neighborhood. The growth path here could be writing or even teaching or sharing ideas in a way that resonates with you and others on a spiritual level. So that could be spiritual writing about spiritual subjects, but it doesn't have to be that exact translation. I think the idea here is to just open yourself up to new ideas, new ways of communicating, new ways of being with others. Now, Aquarius, for you, we are focusing on finances, values, and your self-worth. Now, the North Node in Pisces in your second house encourages you to align your financial goals with your spiritual values. Maybe you'd say, well, that's aligned with that. That's great. But maybe you want to take everything to the next level. Also, I think you're encouraged here to have a good look at your understanding of money. What does money mean to you? And what I'm not saying here is like you should just be all spiritual now and not want money. Now, absolutely, I'm not saying that at all. Quite the opposite, actually. I think you should see all the possibilities and the opportunities you actually have, and maybe find new ways of investing your money. And then when it comes to the letting go, I would say release overcritical tendencies towards your intimate relationships, your partners. You want to go deeper in your partnerships now. And when I say you want to, you might say, no, I don't want to. But I'm saying you're encouraged to do that. Because that can also then help you in your understanding of the value of the relationship. Now, Pisces and Pisces rising, for you, we are talking personal identity and self-expression. So the North Node is moving into your first house. So you are stepping into your full power as a compassionate and intuitive leader. And I think I mentioned that already in the the yearly forecast. The only thing that you need to release is your need to perfect your partnerships. You don't need to perfect your partnerships. They're already perfect. There's no one to change but self. And I think this is the message for you this year. Again, I'm going to say it again. There's no one to change but self. Everyone is just a reflection of what you hold within you. So change it there. And with this, I'm going to love you and leave you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. If you want a personal reading, you can message me or book it directly. There's a link in the comment section, or not in the comment section, in the description box.